Senate will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, please call the roll.
Senators Aguilar, Baumgardner, Cook, Coram, Court, Crowder, Donovan, Binberg, Fields, Garcia, Gardner, Guzman, Hill, Holbert, John, Jones, Kagan, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lumberg, Marble, Martinez-Huminick, Merrifield, Moreno, Neville, Priola, Scott, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Tate, Todd, Williams, Zinzinger. Mr. President.
Here. The 35 present, 0 absent, 0 excused. We have a quorum. Senator Zinzinger. Please come and lead us in the pledge.
Colleagues and guests, can you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
Approval of the journal, Senator Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the reading of the Journal of March the 7th, 2018 be dispensed with and that we approve it as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the motion is adopted. Committee reports.
March 7, 2018, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration of the merits, committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 72 be postponed indefinitely. March 7, 2018, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration of the merits, committee recommends the following: House Bill 1066 be referred to committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar. March 7, 2018, Committee on Judiciary. After consideration of the merits, committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 180 be amended as follows: as so amended, be referred to committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation placed on the consent calendar. March 7, 2018, the Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs has had on consideration had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointments to be placed on the consent calendar confirmed. Members of the State Personnel Board, effective June 30, 2017, for terms expiring June 30, 2020. Michelle E. Palmquist, SPHR, SCP of Denver, Colorado, reappointed. Maurice G. Nizer of Denver, Colorado, appointed. March 7, 2018, Committee on State Veterans and Military Affairs, after consideration of the merits, committee recommends the following: House Bill 1138 be amended as follows: as amended, be referred to committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation.
Senate Services.
Correctly printed, Senate Bill 198 and 200, Senate Resolution 2.
Third reading of bills. Consent calendar. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the titles of all the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar?
Senate Bill 174 by Senator Gardner, concerning liability of entities that provide services to persons with developmental disabilities in residential settings. Senate Bill 176 by Senator Corman, Representative McLaughlin and Catlin, concerning changes to the requirements for meeting dates for the Board of the Southwestern Water Conservation District. House Bill 1091 by Representatives Beckman and Ginal and Senators Smallwood and Todd, concerning dementia diseases in connection therewith, updating statutory references to dementia diseases and related disabilities. Senate Bill 169 by Senator Gardner and Representative Carver, concerning offenses against witnesses in non-criminal proceedings. House Bill 1142 by Representatives Hooten and Thurlow and Senators Martinez-Huminick and Zinzinger, concerning modernizing language and statutory sections that refer to paupers. House Bill 1141 by Representatives Hooten and Senator Zinzinger, concerning the removal of outdated references in statutorily childhood care and education councils. House Bill 1183 by Representatives Hooten and Ransom and Senators Baumgardner, concerning the continuation of the regulation of home food service plans pursuant to the Sale of Meat Act and in connection therewith, implementing the Department of Regulatory Agency Sunset Review recommendation to repeal the act. House Bill 1073 by Representative Gray and Senator Gardner, concerning water districts' ability to enter into contracts regarding their water-related assets. House Bill 1051 by Representative Hammer and Carver and Senators Corman and Merrifield, concerning statutory provisions enacted to promote the extinguishment of unattended fires. House Bill 1052 by Representative Lundeen and Bridges and Senator Todd, concerning local education providers receiving concurrent enrollment courses from a 2-year institution of higher education outside of the institution's approved service area when the institution approved to serve the local education provider declines to provide concurrent enrollment courses.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to lay over Senate Bill 174 for lack of a House sponsor till Friday, 3/9.
Motion is to lay over Senate Bill 174 till March 9th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Ayes have it, and that will lay over. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the remaining bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar, including Senate Bill 176, House Bill 1091, Senate Bill 169, House Bills 1142, 1141, 1183, 1073, 1051, and 1052.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar? Are there any no votes on any of the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 176 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Moreno, Senator Scott, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Priola, Senator Martinez-Humenick. With 35 ayes, and Senator John. With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1091 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Tate, Senator Williams, Senator Aguilar, Senator Gardner, Senator Lambert, Senator Moreno, Senator Fields, Senator Kafalas, Senator Court, Senator Garcia, Senator Donovan, Senator Merrifield, Senator John, Senator Marble, Senator Neville, Senator Priola, Senator Jones, Senator Lundberg, Senator Kerr, Senator Hill, Senator Scott. With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 169 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Aguilar, Senator Moreno, Senator Cook, Senator Priola, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Kafalas, Senator Garcia, Senator John, Senator Tate, please add the President. With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1142 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Aguilar, Senator Kafalas, Senator Todd, Senator Merrifield, Senator Donovan, Senator Kerr. With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1141 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Kafalas, Senator Todd, Senator Garcia, Senator Merrifield, Senator Williams, Senator Kerr, Senator Guzman. With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1183 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Cook, Senator Marble, Senator Crowder, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator John, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Tate. Please add the President. With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1073 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Crowder, Senator Tate, Senator Priola, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Scott, Senator Cook, Senator John, Senator Marble. Please add the President. With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1051 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Aguilar, Senator Priola, Senator Tate, Senator Todd, Senator Neville, Senator Scott, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Fenberg, Senator Guzman, Senator Court, Senator Williams, Senator Garcia, Senator Kafalas, Senator Donovan, Senator Kerr, Senator Marble, Senator John. With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1052 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Priola, Senator Cook, Senator Hill, Senator Crowder, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Lambert, Senator Tate, Senator Neville, Senator Gardner, Senator Marble, Senator John, Senator Merrifield, Senator Williams, Senator Aguilar, Senator Moreno, Senator Donovan, Senator Court, Senator Fenberg, Senator Kafalas, Senator Zenzinger, Senator Jones, Senator Fields, Senator Scott, third reading of bills. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 132.
Senate Bill 132 by Senator Smallwood and Representative Kennedy concerning a waiver of federal law to permit insurance carriers to offer catastrophic health plans to any individual residing in Colorado and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 132 on third reading, final passage. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 132. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 132 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator John, Senator Scott, Senator Lundberg, Senator Tate, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Crowder, Senator Priola, Senator Marble, Senator Gardner, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Coram, Senator Neville, Senator Hill, Senator Lambert, Senator Cook. Please add the President. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 71.
Senate Bill 71 by Senators John Crowder and Representative Escar concerning an extension of the repeal of the State Substance Abuse Trend and Response Task Force and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator John.
Thank you, Mr. President. We move Senate Bill 18-71 on third reading, final passage. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 71. Are there any no votes? Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Marble, Senator Cook, Senator Neville, Majority Leader Holbert, Senator Hill, Senator Lundberg. With 27 ayes, 8 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 71 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Aguilar, Senator Todd, Senator Merrifield, Senator Fenberg, Senator Williams, Senator Kafalas, Senator Zenzinger, Senator Guzman, Senator Garcia, Senator Kerr, Senator Tate, Senator Donovan. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 70?
Senate Bill 70 by Senator Neville and Representatives Leonard and Humphrey concerning the elimination of ownership as a requirement to qualify for the property tax exemption for property that is used solely and exclusively for religious purposes in connection therewith, enacting the Church Property Tax Fairness Act and making an appropriation.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 70 on third final reading and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Court.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, colleagues, I urge a no vote. This is going to cost our local communities $18 million. And to the notion that having religious institutions in these communities will be a solace for people like our teachers and our first responders, I don't disagree with that, but they don't get paid with solace. They get paid with tax dollars, and $18 million is too much to take out of those budgets. I urge a no vote. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 70. Are there any no votes? Senator Jones, Senator Zenzinger, Senator Fields, Senator Kafalas, Senator Garcia, Senator Guzman, Senator Fenberg, Senator Kerr, Senator Court, Senator Donovan, Senator Moreno, Senator Aguilar, Senator Williams, Senator Todd, Senator Merrifield, Senator John, Senator Kagan. With 18 ayes, 17 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 70 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Cook, Senator Hill, Senator Crowder, Senator Baumgartner, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Lundberg, Senator Gardner, Senator Scott, Senator Priola, Senator Smallwood, Senator Marble, Senator Tate, Senator Lambert. Please add the president. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the title of the Senate bill? Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 1005 on third reading and final passage.
That's out of order, Senator. Literally out of order. Literally.
I withdraw that motion.
You didn't even need to do that. It was out of order. Mr. Carpenter, as I was saying, would you please read the title of the Senate Bill 97?
Senate Bill 97 by Senator Neville and Representative Van Winkle, concerning allowing a law-abiding person to carry a concealed handgun without a permit in connection therewith, preserving current law restricting the carrying of concealed handguns on certain property, including public schools, and reducing an appropriation.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 97 on third final reading and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I ask for a no vote on this bill. This bill makes us less safe, not more safe. It's already quite easy to get a concealed carry permit. It only takes, I believe, 4 hours. 2 of that can be online, a background check, and boom. You don't even have to go out on a range to get taught how to use a firearm. This just makes us less safe. Given what's going on in our country, we should be doing more gun safety laws, not less, and I'd ask for a no vote.
Senator Court.
Thank you, Mr. President. Folks, if more guns, more easily accessible, made us safer, the United States of America would be the safest country in the world. We're not. Please vote no on this bill. More guns will not make us safer. More guns without permits will definitely not make us safer.
Any further discussion? Senator Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we had the opportunity through amendment to make sure that if we were to create permitless carry privileges in the state, that at least those folks we would be assured that those folks had thought about and certified that they were free of any disqualifying crimes, and that they had at least done an online or some kind of course about the responsibilities of a concealed carry weapon. But we did not take that opportunity, and therefore this would be an extremely reckless blanket permission, and therefore I urge a no vote.
Senator Merrifield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I could see supporting this bill as if it were driven by a huge majority of Colorado's voters, if it were really being a groundswell of necessity and need. However, I can tell you how many Coloradans believe this is really important. 12%. 88% think this should not happen. So I urge you to vote as your constituents would wish you to vote, as 88% of Coloradans wish you to vote, and vote in opposition to this bill. Thank you.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Here's what you need to remember. And at the risk of being fined for not having my jack on, this is legal, carrying a gun. Now I have to have a permit. Vote yes.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I urge you all to vote no on Senate Bill 97. I'm extremely visible and connected to my community. I host town hall meetings. I talk to people all across the state, and no one has approached me and asked me to repeal or to eliminate the concealed carry permit. No one has asked me to do that. What they're asking for is for us to address transportation. They're asking for this body under the Gold Dome to address affordable housing. No one has approached me and asked me to eliminate and repeal concealed.
My apologies, Senator. Senators, there is a senator in the well speaking on third reading. Please keep it down. Please continue, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. No one is asking me to repeal concealed carry permits. But I can tell you what the people in the community are talking about. They are fearful. I have families that are absolutely fearful. They are taking their kids out of school because they don't want to be exposed to the risk of someone coming into that school and shooting someone up. We have people in our community that are fearful. And what we have in statute, and I don't know how long it's been in statute, but we have a concealed carry permit statute that's in the books. And you know what that requires? It requires that you fill out a processing permit to conceal carry, and then with that permit, you get an opportunity to get training. Now, in the pink sheet, it says in 2017 that 51,000 people applied for a concealed carry permit. And when you get that permit and you take training, you get an opportunity to get comfortable with that gun. Some people are gifted guns. We know that after every mass shooting, people go out and they buy a lot of guns. Black Fridays, people buy guns. And when you buy guns and you want to conceal and carry, you should go to training. Because you need to learn how to be comfortable with that gun. You need to know how to load it. You need to know how to secure it. You need to know how to make sure when you're transporting it, there are certain rules and regulations that go along with concealed carry. And if we say in the state of Colorado, when we have the number of mass shootings that are going on across our nation, in the state of Colorado, we're going to say you can go ahead and conceal carry without training. Firearms are getting more and more sophisticated. Why wouldn't we want to make sure that someone's comfortable with carrying that gun so that we can avoid accidental accidents as it relates to gun carry? I think that's very reasonable. I went online. I got a copy of what the application looks like. It doesn't take that much to fill out an application. 1 page, 2 page when I printed it out. But they do ask specific questions, which I think are legitimate. First of all, are you a convicted felon? Have you been involved in a domestic dispute? There's a whole host of questions that are asked. Have you been discharged? Are you dishonorably discharged from military? These are some of the questions that are asked before you're granted a concealed carry permit. And if we say in the state of Colorado, after this law has been on the books for so long, you no longer have to comply with the proof of training for concealed carry, and we don't get an opportunity to have these folks respond to some of the questions that are associated with concealed carry, I believe that we're setting up a scenario where we can be creating chaos. Our community is fearful of what's going on as it relates to gun violence. This is just one safeguard. This is one safety net to make sure that someone that wants to conceal carry, it's not all about taking off your jacket and you can see someone's carrying an arm. It's also about making sure you don't have people that's flashing and peeking so that you can see that they're carrying a gun. There's a certain type of demeanor that you need to have, and that's the kind of training that you get. That's what we want in our society. If you're going to conceal and carry, then you need to have the proper demeanor to know how to handle your gun for the safety and the betterment of everyone in the state of Colorado. I think that's reasonable. I think that's appropriate. At this point, no one's rushing, knocking on my door. I'm not getting emails asking me to repeal concealed carry permits, but they are asking us to address transportation. They are asking us to make sure that we're funding our schools adequately. That's what we should be talking about. You can still conceal and carry. I just think you need to have training in order to be able to conceal and carry. So I'm urging you members, vote no on this Senate Bill 97. It's not good for Colorado, and Colorado is not asking for this.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I come down here to support Senate Bill 97 to set the record straight and to explain why I very strongly support this legislation. First, Mr. President, let's get the facts straight. The Senate Bill 97 does not repeal the concealed carry permit system in the state of Colorado. Let me repeat that just for accuracy's sake. Does not repeal the permit system for concealed carry in the state of Colorado. What Senate Bill 97 does is it also allows law-abiding citizens to carry concealed without a permit. So the choice is up to the citizen. Now, in order to comply with the law, you do have to be law-abiding. And also, it's not without precedent. There are other states that have put this in place. The one I'm most familiar with is Arizona, which had a concealed carry permit system in place, and several years ago, they also put in place constitutional carry. Now, why would we call it constitutional carry? Well, because the Second Amendment says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. To permit the system is, in my opinion, infringing that right. So I support this bill because I believe it's very much in line with our constitutional liberties. But I support this bill for an even more important reason than that, and that's the reason that Second Amendment is there in the first place. And that is for the safety and security of the people. There's no question that the Second Amendment was constructed for the safety and security of the people of this nation. And I believe the state of Colorado, to have the best policy in place, should follow suit by passing this legislation. We've been discussing concealed carry for many, many years. It was in 2003 that we actually put in place the concealed carry law that we have, which is a permit system, which I did support because it was a good step in the right direction. But in order for the citizens in Colorado to provide the security and protection they need for themselves and their family and their communities, I believe that the permit system actually holds that back. Now, any argument that this is going to put guns in the hands of the bad guys falls far short, because they couldn't care less as to whether there's a permit system or not. But the law-abiding citizen needs to have the full prerogative to defend themselves and to defend their family and defend their community. And let me straighten one other fact out. Most of it occurs without anybody ever seeing anything happening, because that's what it does. It provides that deterrence. When you know, and the bad guy knows, that there's a high probability that there are law-abiding citizens prepared to defend themselves, that discourages them a great deal, as opposed to the gun-free zones that are far too prevalent in our state. I support this bill because it does the right things for the safety and the security of the people of Colorado, and it does it in defending our liberties as well. I have no complaints about this legislation at all. It does what needs to be done today in the state of Colorado. Mr. President, thank you for your kind attention, and I trust others may hear as well the common sense, reasonable legislation that is Senate Bill 97.
Senator Marble.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not going to be long, but I will be very direct. 81% of interviewed criminals agreed that a smart criminal will try to determine if a potential victim is armed. 57% said that most criminals feared armed citizens more than the police. I want to read you something, and please pay attention. This came out December 10th, 1993. Waiting periods are only a step. Registration is only a step. The prohibition of private firearms is the goal. Janet Reno, U.S. Attorney General, on Good Morning America. I think that explains why we are such a strong yes for this bill, and why we are a vehement no against all and any gun control.
Senator Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of my respected and honorable colleagues has suggested that the reason that permitless carry is called constitutional carry is that it is a constitutional right. And I would just say, since we're dealing with Colorado law, let's look at the Colorado Constitution. The Colorado Constitution says, and I quote, "Nothing herein shall be construed to justify the practice of carrying concealed weapons." That is the Colorado Constitution. So to suggest that there is a constitutional right to carry a concealed weapon is directly at odds with those words in the Colorado Constitution. And another of my respected colleagues has suggested that it is a unimportant difference whether you have a jacket on and therefore conceal your weapon, or whether you take your jacket off and therefore reveal your weapon for all to see. Well, it is not a trivial difference, as has been suggested here. And my evidence that it is not a trivial difference is, again, the Constitution of Colorado, which says no right to keep and bear arms shall be called in question, but nothing shall be construed to justify the practice of carrying concealed weapons. So to the writers of the Colorado Constitution, it was not a trivial difference whether that weapon is concealed or not. It was of sufficient importance to enshrine that difference in the Constitution of our state. And so it is not a trivial difference. It is not a constitutional right. We should not, therefore, pass this bill.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Sonnenberg first.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't going to come down again, but since the jacket illustration came up more than once, I'm going to explain it a little better. Currently in Colorado, I can carry a gun on my side without a permit, without training, although I can tell you that I've had training. And that's legal and fine without the coat on. I put the coat on, and all of a sudden now we have what we call, from my perspective, a coat tax. It's a tax to carry a gun, which I can constitutionally, I can carry without a jacket. But as soon as I put a jacket on, now you want to charge me. Does it make people any safer to charge me for that permit? It truly is a coat tax, not a training tax. It doesn't make us any safer. I can tell you it makes us safer to have people that understand and know how to use guns carry those guns. If only more school districts, like the one up in my neck of the woods, would train teachers to carry in schools, you wouldn't have a gun-free zone. They wouldn't come after you there. Pass this bill. Doesn't make sense to have two standards. Vote yes.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, if you have your Colorado Revised Statutes and your Colorado Constitution, I refer you to Section 13 of Article 2 in our Bill of Rights, where it says, "The right of no person to keep and bear arms in defense of his home, person and property, or in aid of the civil power when thereto legally summoned, shall be called in question, but nothing herein contained shall be construed to justify the practice of carrying concealed weapons." So perhaps we ought to ask for a third reading amendment and strike below this bill and ban the carrying of concealed weapons instead, so that we can carry out our constitutional duty to the people of Colorado.
Senator Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I just want to
make reference to some of the language that's been used in suggesting a coat tax. I will say, as a Marine who served in Iraq in 2003, one who's very familiar with different types of weapon systems, firearms, and the regulations that are associated, I think it's fair to allow someone who's going to carry conceal, and I say this as a person who has gone through that training, who actually has a permit in the state of Colorado, to have a different level of accountability that we expect with those who should be carrying a firearm. I know the responsibility is associated with it, making sure that you are not walking into a facility that is not authorized to have that weapon be showing, to not be on school property, to make sure that you carry it in a way that is making sure that it is concealed, I think is a fair standard that is acceptable. I think to make reference to a notion that it's a coat tax is not what it is. I mean, we're talking about the merits of those who want to be allowed to carry this and making sure that they have gone through the right proper training that allows for them to have that. And I would say that I think in Colorado that's a good thing.
Senator Fenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't going to speak to this, but I just a couple of quick things. Number one, this bill technically doesn't get rid of the permit process for concealed carry, but in virtually in spirit, it basically does. If there is not a requirement for me to have a driver's license to drive a car, but there's an option for me to go get a driver's license to drive my car, I probably won't get that driver's license if it makes no difference under the law. That's what this bill does. It provides an option that will just simply be the default that is chosen, meaning for all intents and purposes, there is no permit requirement for concealed carry in Colorado if this bill passes. Secondly, I think it's incredibly important that this conversation is entirely based on facts and objective information, and I think that's true for both sides of this debate. And I do this with all due respect, but the quote about Janet Reno, who I don't take direction from, I don't think anybody in this chamber takes direction from. I think I was 11 years old, maybe, when she was supposedly on Good Morning America. A quick...
I'm sorry. No. Don't even go there.
Mr. President, if you'd like to share how old you were when... Probably about 13, I assume. But
thank you, sir. You may continue.
Mr. President, I don't know if Janet Reno made that quote, but there is a quick Google search shows Snopes.com says she did not, that it's a fabricated quote. And I think there are a lot of emotions and different statistics and information on both sides of this debate. I think the fact that this is in our Constitution, that it basically directs and insinuates that it is not only justified but very appropriate for the Colorado legislature and for laws in the state of Colorado to regulate concealed carry, not to prohibit it, but to regulate it, I think makes this bill unnecessary and irresponsible. And I think it's, again, on this debate and every other debate, I think it's incredibly important that we base all of these conversations and decisions for the state of Colorado simply and purely based on fact. And when we quote memes that might not be fact-based and may not have actually been said to justify the pursuit of legislation, I think we need to take that seriously. And I would just hope that we as a body make all of our decisions on things that are so critical and such a hot topic as guns in our state and in our country right now, simply and purely based on objective facts. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, colleagues, I do appreciate some of the comments from the good senator from Boulder County concerning accuracy. I think accuracy is very important. And in some parts of the debate, it might be just a little bit lacking this morning. But sometimes the topic, when we're starting to talk about constitutional rights and the fact of constitutional carry, let's make sure that we delineate one more time. The Second Amendment provides the right to keep and bear arms and says it should not be abridged. That's the U.S. Constitution. The Colorado Constitution actually says that the state of Colorado is within its powers to regulate if it so chooses. It does not, as some have alluded to, say that it forbids it. I think that there was an allusion to that, or alluding to that. I don't think that was actually stated, but I want to clarify that. So within the parameters of this bill is doing exactly what the state of Colorado says we should do as a legislative body. To another point, the idea of more guns or less guns. This bill has nothing to do with more guns or less guns. This bill has to do strictly with the rights of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms and how they can proceed in those activities to defend themselves, their family, their children, their loved ones, and their property. It is as simple as that. We've already stated that if you have the opportunity to open carry in the state of Colorado, you can, without a permit, without a permission slip or a mini permit. To my good colleague from Arapahoe County, I appreciate that. Or without some kind of governmental training. We've seen over and over again that if we rely strictly, as some, not all, without a doubt, some believe that government should be the one that has the firearms. And we've seen where that leads us. I'm not going to go down that path again. But again, this bill is strictly to say that Colorado citizens have the right to conceal carry without a permit if this bill passes. It is within our Colorado Constitution, the guidelines of our Colorado Constitution, and it is by and far within the keeping of our Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. So I urge an aye vote.
Senator Fenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to apologize to this chamber. I discussed that we need to base everything on facts and objective information, and I just checked, and in 1993 I was actually 9 years old, not 11. Thank you.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, that was the year I left the state legislature the first time. I always find it interesting when we talk about the Second Amendment was we only talk about half of it. And what we heard, the right to bear, people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, there's the first part of it. You can't take parts of it and say that that's what it is. It's a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. A well-regulated militia. We don't even have that now with concealed carry. We have barely regulated. 3 years ago, when this bill was up in a committee, the woman came in and was getting a concealed carry permit, and she was Her testimony was basically, I can't believe I have to know so little to get a firearm to carry concealed. She said that it was an easy test, and she took the extra that was offered of going out on a firing range, and the firing instructor spent all their time trying not to get people to point the firearm at one another or at him. And that's how little training we require. Now, we're in this frame right now of mass shootings in schools. Unfortunately, over and over again. And it hits close to home for all of us, I think. In Florida, my daughter went to the University of Central Florida and is familiar with the nightclub that happened, the mass shooting a few years ago. My brother was a principal in several Broward County schools. And in the area where the most recent shooting was. I am friends with the sister of the counselor killed at Sandy Hook and a father of a son killed at the Aurora Theater, and just met the daughter of the teacher, the school teacher who was killed at Columbine, right there in the lobby the other day. The last thing we should be doing is making it easier to have firearms that people don't know about. I find it preposterous that we bring this. That's my opinion. And we bring it every year. And we should be going the other way. We should at least make people go out on a firing range and handle a firearm and see if they're competent and have a pass-fail. We need more firearms. We need firearm safety laws, in my opinion. And it's pretty obvious that given what's happening every 6 months, mass shooting, seems like, that this bill is an enormously bad idea, and an enormously bad yes vote, and so I ask you to vote no. I want you to think about how that affects regular people out here and how we're sending a message that it's okay to not even have a concealed carry permit that hardly does anything 4 hours of training.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kind of figured we were going to spend some time on this because it's a very important issue, and it's an issue we need to understand. We need to understand the historical context of all of our discussions here as well. So I think it's appropriate that we look back on past events, and I'm the one who brought up the subject of it being constitutional carry because it harkens back to the Second Amendment. And some question has been given to, well, I didn't read the entire amendment. No, I didn't. I didn't read the entire Constitution up here either. I didn't have time to. But the concept of a well-regulated militia is the fact that they recognize that the citizens of this great nation are the defense of this great nation. And we weren't talking about the regular army, we were talking about the citizens of this nation are enabled and recognized as having the inalienable right of defending themselves and their families and their communities. Now, the United States Supreme Court has actually weighed in on this in the last decade, and I believe it's the Heller decision, if I recall correctly, and they recognize that that means that the state, that the government, does not have the right to regulate the ability of the individual citizen to defend themselves, to regulate it out of existence. Now let me fast forward just a little bit to 1876 when the Colorado Constitution was put in place. I'm well aware of what it says there, and that they specifically excluded concealed carry from being a constitutional right within our state. I want to submit to you that in the 19th century, the presence of firearms in Colorado was a reality of every day. If you go to some of the, you know, the really old taverns that still exist today that were there back then, you can see the evidence of that. If you just read any of your books on history, you understand that in the West, and it was primarily a defense against rattlesnakes, to be really honest about it, but it was necessary to be able to defend yourself in a lot of ways. And I've been around here a long time, but I wasn't here then, and so I can't give you precisely why they put that language in, but my suspicion is that open carry was a very regular practice, and concealed carry was something that was done by the bad guy. Well, that's not the case today. And we established that as state policy, statewide policy in 2003. Now, before that, there was concealed carry, but it was managed on a county-by-county basis, and that worked well in some counties, and it didn't work very well other ways. And that's why in 2003, we voted to put it in place as a statewide policy that you can carry concealed, and there was a lot of regulatory process that was put in place. And as I said earlier, that was a good step in the right direction, but this is the better step that really puts it down and in the right place, because it allows every citizen to not go to the government and say, "May I please?" It simply allows every citizen, every law-abiding citizen, to exercise their constitutional right to defend themselves, to be a defense for their family, to be a defense for their community. Senate Bill 97 is a very good idea. Its time has come. It's been adopted by many states, to our neighbors to the north up in Wyoming, to our neighbors to the south down in Arizona and other places in this country. If you look at the arc of history in this respect, it is being recognized more and more. I should hope we could do this today here in the Senate. Thank you very much.
Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been thinking about my own experience and family history of growing up in a gun-owning family. And some of the memories that I think back on was the pride when my brothers returned back from a hunter safety course and that little hunter safety card that they had gotten. And where that fell, I remember where they sat in their bedrooms. You know, we all as children had those shelves where we put our prized possession, you know, the favorite rock we had found, you know, perhaps our Army man or our favorite toy. And that's where my brothers put their hunter safety cards. And then one of the first times my father ever took me hunting out on the Eastern Plains, I remember the experience of sitting down with a gray-haired gentleman, those great hands that have been weathered by the years of life, and he pulled out his wallet and unfolded his concealed carry permit, and it was dog-eared and dirty and stained and was the exact shape of the wallet. I mean, he carried that along with the things that he felt he needed important in his everyday life. There was pride. There was such pride in him showing and explaining to me what that meant and what it had taken him to get that, and the responsibility he felt with having that in his back pocket. There was privilege, there was honor in having that concealed carried permit. It is, in my family, it is considered one of the highest privileges a citizen should try to achieve, is to have a concealed carry permit. If you're going to take gun ownership to that level, you have absolute pride in having that concealed carry permit in your wallet, because it shows the thoughtfulness with which you have made that decision to conceal carry. There is an important educational process in getting that permit. We have heard that you go out on the firing range, but in addition to that, You learn the risks of liability. You learn the duty of responsibility that you are undertaking. This isn't about the fashion of what conceals the gun. It is about the knowledge our gun-owning community will lose if this bill passes. So I ask for a no vote.
Senator Merrifield.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to respond to a few things that have been said at the mic. There's been a lot of discussion about the Second Amendment and the Heller ruling. I just wanted to talk about real quickly about Justice Scalia's statements in the Heller opinion. Nothing in our opinion should be taken to cast doubt on longstanding prohibitions on the possession of firearms by felons and the mentally ill, or laws forbidding the carrying of firearms in sensitive places such as schools and government buildings, or laws imposing conditions and qualifications on the commercial sale of arms. It goes on to say, like most rights, the right secured by the Second Amendment is not unlimited. It is not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever in any manner whatsoever and for whatever purpose. In addition, a couple of the supporters of the bill talked about how we would be safer if those who understood and knew how to use guns had this opportunity. But we are taking away a requirement that they understand and know how to use guns if we were to pass this bill. Anybody, regardless of their background or regardless of their training, could be carrying a concealed weapon. And secondly, how do we know they're law-abiding, as was stated earlier by those supporting the bill? We want these law-abiding citizens to have the right to concealed carry. But there's nothing now, if this bill were to pass, that says that they're law-abiding. There's so many reasons to oppose this bill. Going back to my first statement, this is not a bill that's being demanded by the citizens of Colorado Springs, Colorado. In fact, the vast majority of them oppose moving in this direction. So I ask you to do the same.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of this bill. I'd like to maybe correct something that the 9-year-old senator from Boulder said, in that he said that this bill will, in spirit, do away with the concealed carry permit, but that is not quite accurate, I don't believe. Last year, in 2017, there were over 51,000 carry concealed permits issued throughout the state. At my term as sheriff, I issued over 10,000 of them. And most people want to still continue to have the concealed carry permit. And the reason being is that they want to be able to carry in other states. We are reciprocal with 32 other states at this time. And in order to carry there in those states when people travel, they want to be able to carry. And so in order to do that, they have to have a concealed carry permit here in Colorado. So in spirit, I don't see people not getting their permits. As a matter of fact, according to the fiscal note, they estimated only 10% or about 1,200 people who will not get a concealed carry permit if this law passes. The other thing I heard too was, a privilege about giving a concealed carry or getting a concealed carry permit. As a sheriff, I thought it was my privilege to give them. But I think the people that get them view it as their right to have one. And so it has nothing to do with privileges. It has everything to do with rights. Protecting yourself, being able to protect yourself, is a basic human right. And this bill really has nothing to do with hunting or anything else we heard. It has to do with a person who legally possesses a handgun under state and federal law under the state of Colorado may possess a handgun without a permit. That's what the bill, all it does. It doesn't change anything else. So I ask you and urge you to support this bill.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 97. Are there any no votes? Senator John, Senator Merrifield, Senator Todd, Senator Williams, Senator Aguilar, Senator Moreno, Senator Kagan, Senator Court, Senator Kerr, Senator Fenberg, Senator Guzman, Senator Garcia, Senator Kafalis, Senator Fields, Senator Zenzinger, Senator Jones, Senator Donovan. With 18 ayes, 17 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 97 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Cook, Senator Crowder, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Gardner, Senator Marble, Senator Scott, Senator Coram, Senator Priola, Senator Lambert, Senator Lundberg, Senator Smallwood. Please add the President. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 170.
Senate Bill 170 by Senator Sonnenberg and Representatives Hansen and McKean concerning a water court process by which an owner of a storage water right allowing water to be stored in a new reservoir capacity may release water into an identified stream reach in a manner that protects the water releases while complying with mitigation measures identified in a Fish and Wildlife Mitigation Plan approved by the Colorado Water Conservation Board.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 170 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 170. Are there any no votes? Senator Jones, Senator Kafalis, Senator Aguilar, Senator Merrifield. With 31 ayes, 4 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 170 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Cook, Senator Marble, Senator Scott, Senator Crowder, Senator Gardner, Senator Lambert, Senator Priola, Senator Coram, Senator Tate, Senator Lundberg, Senator Neville, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Smallwood, Mr. Carpenter, will you please now read the title to House Bill 1005?
House Bill 1005 by Representative Pedersen and Becker J. and Senator Priola concerning notice of post-secondary course enrollment options available to high school students.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the second time, I move House Bill 1005 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1005. Are there any no votes? Senator Cook, Senator Marble, Senator Hill, Senator Neville, Majority Leader Holbert, Senator Scott, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Smallwood, Senator Tate, Senator Lambert, Senator Lundberg, with 23 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1005 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Todd, Senator Fenberg, Senator Merrifield, Senator Williams, Senator Court, Senator Moreno, Senator Fields, Senator Jones, Senator Kafalis, Senator Aguilar, Senator Guzman, Senator John, Senator Martinez-Humenic, Senator Garcia, Senator Kerr, Mr. Carpenter, would you please read the title of House Bill 1095?
House Bill 1095 by Representatives Carver and Arndt, Senators Gardner and Todd concerning educator licenses issued to military spouses.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues, and I move House Bill 1095 on third reading and ask for I vote.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you. Well, colleagues, I said I wasn't going to come down here and talk today.
Any further discussion? Senator Hill.
Thanks, Mr. President. Colleagues, just quick overview. If you look at this bill and say this is a good idea, it's not good just for military spouses, but for others, you would be right, and most of our colleagues, both in the House and the Senate, agree with you. We had a good discussion in Senate Ed about this bill, and we're looking forward to actually a bill coming through soon that's in process in the House, really taking upon this great idea that our sponsors have come up with and expanding it more broadly to folks moving into Colorado. So know that, yes, if you're concerned that this bill is a little bit too narrow, the rest of us are too, and we've had that discussion, and we will resolve that. But for now, it's actually a great solution as well for our military spouses, military members moving here. And so certainly ask for your support on this, as well as your support for a more broader bill to come as well.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I appreciate the good senator from El Paso County. I believe that there is a very good bill coming forward. And I want to explain that I was a no in committee, and I'll be a no on the floor on this bill, not because of what this specific bill does, but for the equal application of law to all those that are coming to Colorado for opportunities. So I'll be a very respectful no on this bill today.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I tried to not come down here and talk today. Members, the history of this is that House Bill 1095 was introduced to do for military spouses an important thing in terms of those who have no choice about moving around the country, to allow certification for those from other states who have teaching experience. Currently it's 3 consecutive years. The bill would change it for military spouses to 3 of the last 7 years. Now, what happened is that the House, in its limited wisdom, realized that this was a good concept. It was a good concept not only for military spouses, but for others. So this afternoon in education, there will be another bill, House Bill 1130, that arguably subsumes House Bill 1095 for all spouses. You might ask, well then, Senator Gardner, why are you doing this bill? Well, we started this bill, and this bill is incredibly important to our military community, to the point that there is a group of senior military personnel that meet in El Paso County about community, state, and other matters with regard to family life and so forth to support our troops. This bill is an emphasis item for them. So my belief is we need to pass this bill. We need to pass it even though it may be subsumed by another and broader bill. But we need to do so, and we need to do so for the military community, as much for the message now at this point as for anything else. So I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1095. Are there any no votes? Senator Neville, Senator Tate, Senator Smallwood, Majority Leader Holbert, Senator Marble, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Crowder? Nope. Please mark Senator Crowder as an aye. You're okay, Senator Crowder. Are there any no votes on House Bill 1095? With 29 ayes, 6 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1095 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senator Hill, Senator Crowder, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Priola, Senator Fields, Senator Kafalis, Senator Zenzinger, Senator Moreno, Senator Kagan, Senator Donovan, Senator Court, Senator Fenberg, Senator John, Senator Coram, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Merrifield, Senator Williams, Senator Aguilar, Senator Guzman, Senator Cook. Please add the President. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of House Bill 1032.
House Bill 1032 by Representatives Kennedy and Thurlow and Senators Fields and Tate concerning access to medical records from the Department of Public Health and Environment's EMS agency patient care database by Health Information Organization networks.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. We move House Bill 1032 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1032. Are there any no votes? Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Hill, Senator Cook, Senator Marble, Senator Neville, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Gardner, Senator Smallwood, Senator Lundberg, Senator Lambert, Majority Leader Holbert. With 24 ayes, 11 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, House Bill 1032 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Crowder, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Merrifield, Senator Todd, Senator Aguilar, Senator Kafalas, Senator Garcia, Senator Court, Senator Zenzinger, Senator Jones, Senator Priola, Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. With your approval, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor on Senate Bill 132.
Please add Senator Tate as a co-sponsor on Senate Bill 132. General orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
Motion for the body is for the Senate to resolve itself in the committee of the whole for consideration of the general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will resolve itself in the committee of the whole for consideration of the general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Smallwood will take the chair.
Committee will come to order. The court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to all the bills on the general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar?
House Bill 1210 by Representative Foote and Senator Cook concerning peace officer status for the Administrator of Judicial Security in the Colorado Judicial Department. House Bill 1050 by Representative Singer and Senator Fields concerning competency to proceed for juveniles involved in the juvenile justice system. House Bill 1233 by Representatives Duran and Lawrence and Senators Finberg and Gardner concerning a consumer reporting agency's placement of a security freeze on the consumer report of a consumer who is under the charge of a representative at the request of the consumer's representative.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the three bills listed on the general order second reading of bills consent calendar, House Bills 1210, 1050, and 1233, along with the committee report from the Judiciary Committee.
Is there any discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of the report to the bill on the general order second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on the general orders second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion for the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the body will rise and report.
Senate will come back to order. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee has met, had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of public lead reports out on consideration of the following tax bills being the second reading thereof. Makes following recommendations on House Bill 1210, House Bill 1050, House Bill 1233 is amended, order passed on second reading, order revised, placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
Motion for the body is the adoption of the report to the committee of the whole. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. House Bill 1210, House Bill 1050, House Bill 1233 as amended, passed on second reading, ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills calendar.
Motion before the body is for the Senate to resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for consideration of the general orders, second reading of bills calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The aye has it, and the Senate will resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for consideration of the general orders, second reading of bills calendar, and Senator Smallwood will take the chair.
Committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to lay over Senate Bill 166 at the sponsor's request to Thursday, March 15th.
Motion for the body is to lay over Senate Bill 166 until March 15th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 166 will lay over until March 15th. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to lay over Senate Bill 172 at the sponsor's request to Monday, March 12th.
Motion for the body is to lay over Senate Bill 172 until March 12th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 172 will lay over until March 12th. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to lay over at the sponsor's request Senate Bill 43 to Monday, March 12th.
Members, motion for the body is to lay over Senate Bill 43 until March 12th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 43 will lay over until March 12th. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to lay over Senate Bill 116 at the sponsor's request to Monday, March 12th.
Colleagues, motion for the body is to lay over Senate Bill 116 until March 12th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 116 will lay over until March 12th. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to lay over House Bill 1158 to Tuesday, March 13th.
Motion for the body is to lay over House Bill 1158 until March 13th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1158 will lay over until March 13th. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 123?
Senate Bill 123 by Senator Sonnenberg and Representative Liston concerning asbestos trust claim transparency.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a good discussion on this last week. I move Senate Bill 123 and ask for a yes vote.
Is there Senator Kagan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And we started the discussion on Senate Bill 123 last week, and we laid it over for further discussion today. And just to remind members, there was an amendment moved that would have required that this bill, this enactment not apply in cases where a plaintiff was within 1 year of death and therefore could not afford any delays without putting the litigation into a situation where recovery would not be available until after the death of the plaintiff. That bill was, that amendment was voted down on a voice vote, and I want to address some of the issues that were raised in opposition to that motion and also in opposition in support of this bill. It has been said by the good senator from Stirling that this bill does not delay proceedings in an asbestos claim, but actually accelerates those proceedings. And I want to draw your attention, members, to the serious problems in that argument. It says that the plaintiff in this action must wait until the defendant has sought discovery, which the defendant may do, from an asbestos trust. That's a totally unrelated action that the defendant can seek information from. The plaintiff may not bar the defendant from doing it. That is on page 6 of the bill between lines 15 and 20. The plaintiff has to give the plaintiff's consent to the defendant going and getting discovery from an asbestos trust. That is a completely unrelated action, and it will incur delay. There is a provision in the bill that says that a court shall stay an asbestos action if the plaintiff has failed to make disclosures required under Section 1321-1404 within 120 days prior to the trial date. A court shall, not may, but shall stay an asbestos action. Members, that is legal speak for saying delay, put it off, stop it. And when the court is required to stop the plaintiff's action, despite the plaintiff potentially being within months of death, is when the plaintiff has failed to make disclosures required completely as a new requirement by this bill under 1321-1404. Right now, the plaintiff doesn't even have to make these disclosures about unrelated potential actions, but under this bill they do, and if they are delayed in complying with this new requirement, the court shall stay the proceedings. If that's not a delay, I don't know what is. The court will also have discretion, if asked by the defendant to do so, to stay the action. Staying the action means delay it, say that it's not going to happen now, until the plaintiff files claims against other people. And the court can be asked to require the plaintiff to file claims against other people, i.e. the asbestos trusts. And if the plaintiff does not or has not filed the claims against the other people, then the court can be asked to delay the action, to give them more time to file the claims against the other people who they may not want to file against at all. It is mind-boggling to think that this legislation actually requires, under certain circumstances, plaintiffs to file claims that they don't want to make. So we have a bill that says the plaintiff must make new disclosures to the defendant, and if the plaintiff hasn't made those disclosures, the court can delay the litigation, shall delay the litigation. We've got a situation where we say, for the first time in Colorado history, the court can be petitioned by the defendant that the plaintiff file a claim against an asbestos trust, which the plaintiff has not chosen to file against. But the plaintiff may be required to sue an asbestos trust or to proceed in the pursuit of a recovery from an asbestos trust. And until and unless the plaintiff has done so, guess what? The existing proceeding is delayed. And this takes place in a context where a plaintiff may well be on the verge of death. This is not justice. This is delay. This is not a fairer system. This is a system which will result in defendants avoiding their liabilities by the mechanism of delay. It boggles the mind that we would consider a bill that actually requires a plaintiff to launch additional lawsuits under some circumstances. I know of no other situation where Colorado law says not you may sue, but you must sue. Not that you may be litigation prone, but we order you to be litigation prone. Not that you may engage a lawyer and proceed to make a claim, but that you must make that claim. Otherwise, you will be denied the right to make this one. For all these reasons, members, this is a bitterly unfair bill, and unfair on the most vulnerable folks, those who are on the verge of death from asbestos exposure, desperately trying to arrange their affairs and receive their compensation and make sure that everything is taken care of before they die. And this bill would, despite, I submit, what the good senator from Sterling has said, it would indeed delay proceedings, in some cases beyond the plaintiff's death. And therefore, I solemnly urge a no vote.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 123? Senator Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I rise in opposition to this bill in its current form based on the fact that I think I would not be using the legalese term of plaintiff, but instead insert veterans and talk about what this means for the veteran community. And we have a bill that would require more of those impacted as a result of their service at no fault of their own. To have further delays is unacceptable to our veterans. That term, plaintiff, I think has to be understood we are referring to the veterans community. Maybe for some who don't understand what that means, let me just share with you some information that you might not be aware of. Veterans comprise about 30% of all the mesothelioma deaths caused by asbestos. 30%. You know, many of these service members were serving on, they're members of the United States Navy, Marines, Army. They share that while serving on ships and in other capacities on behalf of our nation, that they were exposed to asbestos. And again, sharing that number, 8% of our nation's veterans, representing 8% of our nation's population, they account for an astonishing 30% of the deaths attributed to asbestos. I would recommend a no vote on this bill.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I too rise with caution on this bill. When I first started reading about it, and I thought of the time that I stood on Havana Street in Aurora and watched the old Fanfare building being torn down. And watching that being torn down because of the amount of asbestos that was there, the precaution that was taken with everyone having to wear the 100% covered suits, the actual tenting that went around the whole building to make sure that none of it was exposed or able to be released, and the danger for those that were working on the removal. And so when I look at that and I think asbestos is a very, very dangerous material. It is something that was used readily in many of our older buildings. When I first started teaching at West Middle School in Cherry Creek, the removal of the tiles of the ceiling had also to be done in a very methodical manner to make sure that it was very cautious. When they first started, they did not realize the severity. They didn't realize how dangerous it was, and they just started kind of ripping the tiles down. Looking at that and looking at making sure that when asbestos is removed, that it's removed safely, and yet at the same time knowing and understanding people working in older buildings that still have asbestos in them, you may not know the repercussions and the effects of that until years later. So I think at this point, I would support what my friend from Pueblo talked about with veterans, but I think it also goes into teachers in schools. We have many teachers that are working in old buildings that have asbestos in them. And so as a result of that, not knowing what those effects could be and limiting how they can come back and ask for the medical care that may show up well beyond the perimeters of what this bill is recommending. I urge a no vote on Senate Bill 123. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? There's an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read the title to Amendment 2?
Amendment L002, Senate Bill 123 by Senator Garcia. Amend printable page 8, line 24, strike D and substitute 1, except as provided in subsection 2 of this section. The page 8 after line 26, insert 2, the requirements.
Senator Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L002.
Is there discussion on Amendment L02? Senator Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just, as previously stated, I think as we talk about the veterans who are serving and knowing the impact, this should not pertain to veterans. I think at a time when they could be facing death as a result of exposure to asbestos and serving our country, they just can't afford to have this delay after delay tactic. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Senator Kagan.
And members, I also urge an aye vote on Amendment L002. We previously said that the requirements of this act, the delays in this act, the stays of the litigation that occur in this act should not apply if the plaintiff is facing a premature death from exposure to asbestos within a year. That was voted down. So let's at least make sure that veterans who are facing a premature death from exposure to asbestos are not subject to the delays in this bill. Let's at least make sure that our veterans who have served our country and have, as a result of that service, experienced asbestos exposure and are now suffering from mesothelioma, let's at least make sure that this bill's delays do not apply to them. And so I urge an aye vote on Amendment L002.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And well, that's unfortunate. I sure don't want to take veterans out of the speed-up process that this bill provides. And let's talk about that a little bit. This bill has been passed in 12 states, and what we have seen in states like Ohio, which is a union state, and Texas, is that settlements happen faster with this bill in place. So this amendment then takes veterans out of being able to speed up those payments, to getting the help that we want to them. Why would we want to exclude veterans from being able to get the help they need up front right away? I don't want to do that to veterans. I want to help veterans and everybody else that's exposed to asbestos and not help trial lawyers. That's why I asked for a no vote on this.
Senator Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I won't just say about trying to talk the talk. I think it's realistic to know where people stand on this issue. And maybe we should remind people that last year, United Veterans Council here in Colorado was in opposition of that. Was in opposition of this bill right here. I don't just placate to think I know the veterans community. I served in the United States Marine Corps. I'm invested in the veterans community. Let me remind you about the Purple Heart Order. The Purple Heart Association who are impacted. You know, one of our nation's highest medal, a Purple Heart for receiving an injury during combat, has been opposed to this bill because they recognize, as I said earlier, that veterans represent 8% of the nation's population, but they are 30% of this astonishing death rate. And this tactic of saying this is going to speed it up, that's just not true. It's not true, members. Don't look at the facts. I urge an aye vote.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And this isn't the same bill as last year. It's far from it, quite frankly. And let's look at the facts. Let's look at the states that have already implemented this bill and look at the facts that they actually speeded up those payments. It's interesting that when you have a bill with transparency, how things actually get sped up because everybody has access to everybody else's stuff. So we speed that up. We speed up the payments because we don't have people hiding stuff and arguing one way for this and then arguing something else for this. Quite frankly, if the veterans want the slower payments, support the amendment. If the veterans want the payments that everybody else is going to be up front, I'm good with that. I want to help them all, and that's what this bill does through transparency. And there's a proven track record in other states that have passed this bill that it speeds up payments. If veterans don't want those sped up payments, then vote for the amendment.
Senator Quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess I need a little clarification because I understand the veterans group opposed this bill last year, but it is my understanding that they are neutral on this version. So is that correct? I'm seeing a nod from, thank you.
Senator Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I feel compelled to come down here because when someone argues that this speeds up proceedings, I just feel compelled to respond by just reading you the words in the bill. 1321, section 1406, scheduling trial, stay of action. Paragraph 1, a court shall, not may, but shall stay an asbestos action. Members, to stay an action means to hit the pause button. That's what the court is required by this bill to do. Hit the pause button, stay the action. A court shall stay an asbestos action if the court finds that the plaintiff has failed to make the disclosures required under section 1321-1404 within 120 days prior to the trial date. The court shall stay the action. This is a delay bill.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment 2? Senator Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will be my last comment regarding the amendment, but I think it's fair to say that last year when the UVC, United Veterans Council, was adamantly opposed to this bill, that the context of this bill has not changed much. To say that they are neutral is not supportive. As I said earlier, the Purple Heart Association, and I think for anyone who understands the bureaucracy of the VA, if you can't understand how this amendment would help our veterans, I think that's what's at essence here. I hear a lot of people talk about that they want to help veterans, but this bill would hurt veterans in this process and specifically also within the VA's bureaucracy to be able to extend their ability to have this claim. So again, I rise in support of the amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment 2? Seeing Senator Quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually just checked with the lobby for the United Veterans, and they are neutral on this bill.
Any further discussion on Amendment 2? Senator Sonnenberg. Motion for the body is the adoption of Amendment 2. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. Senator Sonnenberg.
There you go. We have it. Ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 123? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 123. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 123 passes. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 171?
Senate Bill 171 by Senators Holbert and Williams and Representatives Pabon and Sias concerning the creation of a test to determine whether a marketplace contractor that provides services on a marketplace platform is covered under certain employment-related laws.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Senate Bill 171 and the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, I ask you to vote no on this committee report. I'd be happy to explain why. There's been ongoing discussion between supporters of the bill, business community, and our friends at Pinnacle, the provider of last resort for workers' comp. And we have an amendment that we will introduce here in just a moment, and it has brought those two sides together. L009 that you received on your desk yesterday is that compromise. But in order to get to L009, we need to reject the committee report. So with all due respect to the members of the Senate Business Committee, please, members, let us all join together and reject the Business Committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, all those in favor of the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report, say aye. All those opposed, no. No! The noes have it, and the committee report is lost. There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read the title to Amendment 9?
Amendment L009, Senate Bill 171.
Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I move L009 to Senate Bill 171.
To the amendment, Senator Williams.
Members, L009 is going to ensure that the marketplace platforms demonstrate that contractors are free from direction and control. This is the same requirement that is placed on other Colorado businesses that use independent contractors and ensures a level playing field. So with that, I ask for an aye vote on L009.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment 9? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment 9. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. To the bill, Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, I am proud to work with my colleague, the good senator from Stapleton, Northeast Denver. We have had the honor to serve together on the Business Committee, and when this bill came to my attention, I was excited to have the opportunity to work with my esteemed colleague. Senate Bill 171 brings classified advertising, that was a great analogy used in the Business Committee, into the year 2018. In the old days, you might have had a company that provided painting services, and if you had a picket fence painting service, you might advertise in the classifieds and say, hey, I'm available as an independent contractor to come paint your picket fence. And then if you were out there in the world and were a subscriber to the newspaper, you might look in the classifieds ads and say, I need someone to come paint my picket fence. And sure enough, right there in the classified ads, you could find a company that was offering that service. You could contact that company, have them come and paint your pickets. Today, we probably don't use classified ads in the newspaper so much as an app on our phone, our mobile device. And that's where Senate Bill 171 comes in. There are applications out there and providers of those applications that advertise, market themselves out in the world to say, if you are an independent contractor, a company that provides such services, come and sign up with us and we will market you very much the way that classified ads did years ago. And if you are in need of such services, you can log into that app and say, I'm looking for someone in the painting area and specifically someone to paint my picket fence. But are those people who provide those services, are they employees of the app provider? No, they're not. No, not any more than people who advertise in classifieds in a newspaper were employees of then the Rocky Mountain News or the Denver Post. They're not the employees of that marketing backbone. Are they employees of the people who hire them to do work? No. If you have someone come to your house to paint your pickets or mow your lawn or paint your house or whatever it might be, they're not coming into your employee, into your home, onto your property as your employee. They are an independent contractor. And that's what 171 does. It says that it's okay for these people to promote themselves on an application, on a web-based application, and to go out and find work. And it's okay for people in Colorado to hire those people as independent contractors. And if someone becomes injured, they would need their own workers' comp insurance. If they are a company, if they are an independent contractor, if they're an LLC, if they're a corporation, they are responsible for their own workers' comp. If they become unemployed, they are also responsible for that. That's not a responsibility of the app creator, or what would have been the newspaper, or the customer who hires those people to come and do work at their property. And I ask for an aye vote on 171.
Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, it is my honor to work with the majority leader on this issue. We have served honorably in this legislature for the last 8 years now, and it's such an honor to work with him on this. And we have discussed this conversation in years past, not in the on-demand economy, but independent contractor versus employees, and who controls those responsibilities and the actions of those employees. And if you don't have a white picket fence and you need someone to paint it, I'll give you some 21st century ideas about how this is going to work. Many of you probably on your digitally based, primarily your mobile phone, have used Booking.com. You've used Uber. You've used Eventbrite, maybe Airbnb, OpenTable, and even Ticketmaster. And so as we move into the 21st century and the demand of technology, this bill will help us determine what those activities are to determine if they're independent contractors or not. So two main points of Senate Bill 171. We want to have two tenets in the employment law, which is establishing that work is free from control and engage in the independently established businesses. Also in the legislation, we do have, I believe it's up to an 11-factor test now in order to determine if these are independent contractors. This bill passed unanimously out of the Business Committee, and my colleague from Parker and I would like to ask for your aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 171? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 171. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 171 passes. The clerk, please read the title of Senate Bill 175.
Senate Bill 175 by Senator Gardner and Representative Lundin concerning the prohibition against paid union activities by public employees.
We'll be in a senatorial 5. Committee will come back to order. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the sponsor's request, I move to lay over Senate Bill 175 to the end of the second reading calendar.
Motion for the body is to lay over Senate Bill 175 to the end of the second reading calendar. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 175 will lay over. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1045?
House Bill 1045 by Representative Sanger and Senator Tate concerning the application of silver diamine fluoride to dental patients.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1045 and ask for an aye vote.
To the bill, Senator Tate. Is there any discussion on House Bill 1045? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1045. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1045 passes. The clerk please read the title to House Bill 1117.
House Bill 1117 by Representative Van Winkle and Coleman, Senator Tate, concerning liens that attach to personal property that is stored at self-service storage facility.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1117 and ask for an aye vote.
Is there any discussion on House Bill 1117? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1117. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The aye has it, and House Bill 1117 passes. The clerk please read the title, Senate Bill 11.
Senate Bill 11 by Senators Holbert and Kerr and Representatives Kraft, Tharp, and Lundin, concerning treatment of students who are excused by their parents from participating in state assessments.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Senate Bill 11 and the Education Committee report.
To the committee report, Majority Leader Holbert.
Members in committee, we had debate about an amendment that took out the second section of the bill that would have had some additional reporting requirements. With the committee report, that amendment, we had, I think, unanimous support for the bill. Was it unanimous out of, I think it was, no, it was not, excuse me. We reduced, rather than unanimous, we eliminated the opposition, let me state it that way, from outside of the committee, those testifying on the bill. With that amendment, that opposition was reduced or eliminated. Ask for an aye vote on the Education Committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the Education Committee report? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of the Education Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Education Committee report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Kerr. Oh, there is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read the title to Amendment 5?
Amendment L005 to Senate Bill 11 by Senator Kerr, amend printable page 3, line 5, strike who participated and substitute for participated.
Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L005 and ask for its adoption.
To the amendment, Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you can see, and you just heard on this amendment, we are changing just two words from who participate and substituting for participating. The intent of this bill was to make sure that students and families who opted to not take certain standardized tests would not be ostracized, would not be punished, would not be held to a different standard. And with that being the intent of the bill, the question was brought up is that some schools do give academic awards which might be partially based on the students' achievement at these standardized tests. We wanted to make clear that whether the student took the standardized test or not, that would not be the determining factor as to whether or not they would be eligible for these awards. So with that, between the drafter and some of our folks that we were talking to about this bill, we think that the words "for participating" better reach what we are trying to achieve with this bill. I ask for its adoption.
Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do consider L005 a friendly amendment and ask for your aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment 5? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Amendment 5. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment 5 is adopted. To the bill, Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, back in 2015, I was honored to work with a good senator from Jefferson County, a teacher, on a bill that included opt-out protection for parents and students. And in that bill, we had language that said that schools cannot punish students who are opted out by their parents. And this applies only to the annual assessments. So if you read the bill, I have heard from some people saying, gosh, why would we not want to encourage kids to do well on tests? Well, this isn't a test that would lead to a letter grade. It's not a spelling test or a math test or something like that. These are the annual assessments that we do now less frequently, thanks to the legislation that the good senator from Jeffco and I worked together on in 2015. But again, that bill included language that said don't punish students for not participating when their parents opt them out of those annual assessments. And some of the stories that we heard back then, up to 2015, were that if a parent opted out a son or daughter from an annual assessment, then the school would not allow the student to participate on the volleyball team or the basketball team or something like that, or they couldn't go on a field trip. And we said, no, don't punish the students for the decisions of the parents. And that has worked very well. I've not heard about punishment since we passed that bill, but last year we did start to hear about a less frequent circumstance of rewarding or allowing the students who did go through the annual assessments to go to a party or have some function, but the students who were not participating, who were opted out by their parents, were not allowed. So it really seemed to me like the same thing, but the other way around. And that's what Senate Bill 11 tries to address in a very even-handed way. Allow parents to make those decisions for their students, and don't withhold reward from them just because of the decision of their students, and don't punish them as well. So I ask for an aye vote, and again, thank my colleague from Jefferson County for the bipartisan effort on this and in 2015.
Senator Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that the State Board of Education supports Senate Bill 11 in its current form. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 11? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 11. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 11 passes. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 143?
Senate Bill 143 by Senator Finberg and Corman, Representatives Arndt and Wilson, concerning measures to increase revenue for the Parks and Wildlife Division in connection therewith, setting certain hunting, fishing, parks, and recreation fees.
Senator Finberg.
You want to lead?
We will be in a senatorial 5. Senate will come back to order. Senator Finberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 143 and the committee report from Finance Committee.
To the Finance Committee report, Senator Finberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance Committee had a lengthy discussion on this bill for the second year in a row, and we made a lot of progress. And there was an amendment, a couple of small technical things, but probably the most substantial piece was a requirement that the department figure out a way to charge fees for folks that are coming into parks in a way, by means other than a vehicle. Rather than just charging a vehicle fee, they can charge a fee for folks that are coming in through other means.
Senator Merrifield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment 004 to the Finance Committee report.
Senator Merrifield, we need to adopt the Finance Committee report. Is there any further discussion on the Finance Committee report? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Finance Committee report is adopted. There is an amendment on the desk. Will the clerk please read the title to Amendment 4?
Amendment L004 to Senate Bill 143.
Senator Merrifield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment 004 to the Finance Committee report.
To the amendment, Senator Merrifield.
So, as an avid user of state parks, I've been to, I think the last count I made, 3/4 of the state parks, and I'm an avid mountain biker. And a frustration I have had on various visits that I've had to certain state parks is the the inadequacy and basically the unfairness of the evaluation of trails as to multi-use. Mountain bikers, I don't know that you know it, but we are discriminated against. I'm here to express the rights of mountain bikers and to hopefully create a better situation in our state parks, which are supported by our tax dollars. So, as I was saying, I have seen an inadequate evaluation of mountain bikes and mountain bike use on the trails in the state parks, and some of them, many of them, are disallowed for use by mountain bikers, and unfairly so, and non-scientifically so. Specifically, a good example is in Colorado Springs at Cheyenne Mountain State Park, a new trail that's being built to the top of Cheyenne Mountain, which is a beautiful place to get to, has wonderful trails on top, but the only trail that will be built to get to the top will be outlawed for mountain bikers will not be allowed to use it. Even though we have expressed the fact that we are more than willing as mountain bikers to get off and push our bikes if necessary to get past a couple of technical spots. The problem is the disallowance of mountain bikes is not based upon any reasonable or scientific knowledge or research. It's based purely upon a personal opinion. So this amendment says that in the future, as a condition of receiving state funding, each state park shall develop a policy allowing mountain biking on any multi-use trail within the state park, unless the Parks and Wildlife Division makes a determination based on scientific evidence reviewed and after receiving input from all types of park users, including groups representing mountain bikers, that mountain biking is not an appropriate activity for one or more specific multi-use trails within a specific state park. In other words, they got to be fair, they got to be scientific before they disallow what has become the second most popular use, and in some parks, the most popular use of the trails, mountain biking. And with that, I would hope you would support this amendment if you believe in the American way.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, let me correct a couple of things. No tax dollars go to state parks, period. GOCO funds, some severance tax, but park fees. Let me think. Bicycles pay how much in park fees? Oh yeah, 0. Boats pay to go into a park. Vehicles pay to go into a park. And if you drive or if you go into a park, you're going to have to pay a fee. But specifically, bikes don't pay a fee. Now, I'd like to help. And Parks actually has a plan to help with bike trails in public parks, which is part of the reason for this bill, which why they've been added somewhat and why there's the increase so we can reach a broader base of people, including bicycles. But to make the argument now that we're going to give bicycles special treatment just simply doesn't make sense. Ask for your no vote on the amendment.
Senator Court.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As a member of the Finance Committee, I heard this bill twice, last year and this year, and we heard about 50 billion hours of testimony. I did not hear a single person come forward talking about the bike trails. The entire discussion had to do with the boats and the invasive species and the hunting and all kinds of other things. And while I am very sympathetic to my good friend from Colorado Springs and his concerns about mountain bikes at our state parks, I do not think this amendment is appropriate in this bill. It is certainly an appropriate conversation about the use of trails in state parks for mountain bikes, but it's not part of this bill, so I urge a no vote on this amendment.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, as the Chair of Finance, we heard extensive testimony. Not to the senator, to my colleague from Denver, not quite 1 billion hours. Sometimes it felt that way. But it was a very good bill, and we did make some changes on the bill that actually became more inclusive of those people that are actually utilizing the parks to actually be able to step up a little bit and at least have some kind of skin in the game. So I think that's a positive thing. When we start getting into prescriptive amendments like this, colleagues, I would urge a no vote. I mean, I like to watch birds. Okay, I have a lot of stuff in my backyard, and I definitely get I get razzed about that a lot from some of my relatives, and but I don't think we should have prescribe bird watching facilities at state parks if we think that that's important to us. There could be a number of other things that could be required. We allow our parks to be funded through fees, and we allow the opportunity for those parks to operate for the best prescribed uses of the people that use those parks. There's a process here, and I would just urge a no vote. This becomes overly prescriptive. I appreciate that, the good senator from El Paso County and his love for mountain biking, but we all have loves for some things, and it's probably not up to government to list those on a bill and prescribe those in a cafeteria-style process. So I would urge a no vote.
Senator Merrifield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hope I didn't confuse anybody. I'm not saying that mountain bikers should be exempt from any fees. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, if this bill passes, they will specifically be one of the users that pays a fee just for riding in on their bike. But however, I do want to respond to the colleague from Sterling. I pay a fee every time I enter the state park to ride my bike. Especially if I'm going up to Grand Junction to ride one of the parks up there. I don't ride my bike from my house to Grand Junction, and I don't ride my bike from my house to Cheyenne Mountain State Park, because that's about 12 miles, and I'd rather get the time on the dirt. Specifically, I pay a fee because I enter the park with my car, on which is my bike. I happen to save a little money by buying a state pass, a yearly pass every year. So this isn't special treatment. This is equal treatment. We should have equal rights to use the trails that are maintained by GOCO dollars and other funds that we provide for the state parks, just like any other users do. We should have equal rights to equal access. With that, once again, I urge you to support fairness that's inherent in this amendment and support it.
Senator Quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would ask for a no vote on this amendment. We had a great deal of testimony, and I understand the fun that people have bike riding, but also not all bike riders have the same skills. And sometimes old people like me might not be able to maneuver some of these trails, so I would rather leave those decisions to the park itself. Ask for a no vote.
Senator Merrifield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I think this is an example of we should know our skill level, and if there's a trail that's above your level, you would not, in my opinion, risk life and limb by riding it. However, those decisions, I think, should be made by experts in the area, which include users of mountain bikes. And having their input is very important in making these multi-use trail decisions. That being said, I'm thankful to have had the opportunity to provide a mountain biker's opinion on legislation that affects trails in the parks. I'm hoping this will create an opportunity for more discussion about this issue and more fair treatment of mountain bikers in the future in the state parks. And with that, I will withdraw this amendment.
To the bill, Senator Fenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I renew my motion for Senate Bill 143. This is a bill that has been vetted and discussed for several years now, and it is a way for us to continue the tradition of supporting our parks and wildlife here in Colorado, and just simply, for the most part, allows them to stay current with the expenses, and gives them a little bit more flexibility to increase fees to have the revenue necessary with the increase of the expenses to manage and maintain these parks that are so important to our economy, our people, and our state.
There is an amendment on the desk. The clerk please read the title to Amendment 3.
Amendment L003 to Senate Bill 143 by Senator Moreno. Amend Printed Bill page 10, line 9, strike consider offering, and substitute offer page 10, line 12, strike consideration of the.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Amendment L003.
To the amendment.
Colleagues, this amendment merely just strips some of the permissive language that you'll find on page 10, lines 9 through 14, and just says instead of shall consider offering a license for residents who are low income or for hunting or fishing recruitment purposes, that the commission shall offer them. Ask for your aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment 3? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Amendment 3. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no? No. The noes have it. The amendment is lost. To the bill, Senator Quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this has probably been one of the most discussed bills since I have been here. I take great pride in the progress that we made in this, but I think the most important thing that we need to realize about this bill is my co-sponsor, the young senator from Boulder, did not do any of the math in the figures.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I'm not a big fan of fee increases, but let me tell you why I'm supporting this. These folks don't take tax dollars. These folks support their own programs. They are willing to up their fees a little bit because they have not had the money to continue on the plan that they had and had to cut some programs. Programs that are important like youth fishing, youth hunting, getting young people involved in the outdoors. This helps this. We've worked on this for several years, and last year we had a discussion and I wanted them to come back to me with a 5-year plan on what the division would look like, similar to what we do in business. They came up with sort of a plan last year, but it wasn't one that we could actually get our arms around. This year, we have a plan. We have a really good plan. And a budget for that plan, for growing the numbers of hunters and anglers in Colorado, to renew existing leases for wildlife and access so people of Colorado can actually hunt and fish in this great state, and you know those leases get more expensive. Here's one that I had to have addressed that is a concern. You know, Parks and Wildlife owns a lot of water. They have a lot of dams. And the last dam report that came out said, you got to do a little work on those dams. Now, we've been able to use some GOCO funds on some of those dams, but this will help make sure that we secure those dams and those water storages by reducing the $44.76 million maintenance and repair backlog on the remaining 11 Parks and Wildlife dams. That's important. Most important in all this, they're not doing it with taxpayer dollars. They're stepping up to take care of this themselves. They have a plan. They're going to be better off in 5 years. They have a plan to get people back involved, to reinstitute some of the programs they have, to take care of the property that they now have. Members, this is a good time to jump on board. Join the outdoors. partner with Parks and Wildlife as the hunters, the anglers, the bicyclists, the hikers, all help move this program forward, make Colorado a better place to recreate in the outdoors. Ask for a yes vote.
Senator Court. Senator Court.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm disappointed the gallery isn't fuller today because this is a perfect example of when we work together across the aisle with the people, we can get good things done. Sitting through the testimony for 2 years from people from Meeker and Durango and Sterling and Trinidad and all over the state, I was so impressed by the people coming to tell us that they wanted to increase their fees to make these programs happen. And the sponsors coming from very different places worked really hard with all the stakeholders to get this bill done. And I am just so proud of us for having gotten to that point and of the people of Colorado for participating the way they did. So I urge a yes vote, and I want everyone to realize that this is definitely a win for the people.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To my colleague from Denver, who also serves in the Finance Committee, she had the opportunity to sit in the last couple of years and listen to a fee adjustment bill. This bill passed unanimously out of Finance. It had tremendous amount of testimony. It was light years better than the year before when it failed in Finance. And I think that's an important thing. We may have agreements and disagreements, but we also have the opportunity to work and get to a better place. And I believe, I do agree with the good senator from Denver that this process worked this year. And the only thing I would suggest is let's hope that somehow our colleagues on the other side in the House don't find some way to screw it up, but I would urge an aye vote.
Senator Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, too, rise in support of Senate Bill 143, and I think many of you know last year I had a lot of opposition to the way the formation of that bill looked, and I will tell you that we're seeing significant changes. I think we can all agree fee increases probably aren't one of the best ways to address things, but to look at this modest fee increase and understand the return on investment for youth fishing programs, those who will enjoy the outdoors, and the promotion of Colorado's way of life, I think is a good return on investment for the General Assembly, and I'd urge an aye vote on 143.
Senator Corn.
Thank you. I would just like to reflect that all the work that did go in on this and the hard work that the senator from Boulder did do on this, and to get the consensus to bring that kumbaya moment from the senator from Sterling, the senator from Pueblo, I ask for a yes vote and suggest we all go buy a lottery ticket.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the risk of piling on, I asked for a yes vote too. When we merged Parks and Wildlife into one division, we had a large funding gap. And it's not gone away, and this is one way to try to address that because, you know, in Colorado, people use parks, people fish, hunt a lot, and it's part of our image and our way of life. And if we don't sustain this organization, it starts to deteriorate, and you get a lot of complaints, and people don't get the experiences they want. And so I just think it's a great idea to do this. I recall doing this many years ago, and for the same reasons. And there's increased pressure, especially in the outdoor recreation environment with people moving here, plus the participation rates are going up. And they're going to need all the help they can get. They have a huge, huge backlog for facility maintenance and reconstruction. And this is a good way to get at it. I think there probably should be more, but this is a great start.
Senator Merrifield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kumbaya, you guys, kumbaya. I didn't want there to be a feeling that I don't support the bill, and that I don't support state parks and wildlife. I'm a fisherman, used to be a hunter, don't do that anymore because I'm on my mountain bike. But the need is obvious, and this opportunity should not escape us. So as a strong advocate of the use of our outdoors in Colorado, I want you to, and my constituents, to be aware that I'm supporting this bill, so I urge you to also to support it.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 143? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 143. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 143 passes. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to lay over the balance of the second reading calendar Monday to Monday, March 12th.
Motion for the body is to lay over Senate Bill 175 and all the other bills. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. That motion passes. Majority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
Motion for the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee will rise and report.
Hey, I got a Senate will come to order. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee has met and had a whole gaggle of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs to leave to report has had on consideration the following attached bills being second reading thereof makes the following recommendation on Senate Bill 123 as amended, Senate Bill 171 as amended, Senate Bill 11 as amended, Senate Bill 143 as amended, passed second read order, gross placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage, House Bill 1045, House Bill 1117 passed on second read order, revised placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 172, Senate Bill 43, Senate Bill 116, Senate Bill 175 laid over until 3/12/18 retaining the place on the calendar. House Bill 1158 laid over until 3/13/18 retaining its place on the calendar. Senate Bill 166 laid over until 3/15/18 and retaining its place on the calendar.
Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
Motion for the body is the adoption of the report to the committee of the whole. There is an amendment on the desk. Mr. Carpenter, would you please read Committee of the Whole Amendment 1 to Senate Bill 123 by Senator Kagan?
Committee of the Whole Amendment 1, Senate Bill 123 by Senator Kagan.
Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill, the Kagan Amendment to the report of the Committee of the Whole.
To the amendment.
Members, I won't belabor the point, but I would ask you to vote yes on this amendment because I think it is appropriate to relieve people on the verge of death pursuing litigation to get proper compensation from a defendant with a case of mesothelioma. They haven't got long to live. They should be spared the requirement of providing uniquely invasive forms of discovery. They should be spared of the requirement to, if the judge so orders it, sue somebody else before they proceed with their claim. They should be spared the requirement of a delay and a stay in proceedings. They should be allowed to proceed as quickly with their litigation as any other plaintiff in any other case, especially if they are on the verge of death, and that appears to the court from the pleadings. So I would urge an aye vote on sparing people who are dying from the extra hoops and the extra delays that could be incurred as a result of this bill. Please vote yes on the Cow Amendment.
Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I'm not sure what bill it's talking about. The bill I'm talking about has transparency, where you put everything out in front. And it's been used in other states and sped up the process. Why would you want to take out those people that are most sick from getting their money quicker? Other than if you're one of those lawyers that benefits from this. And as we heard from the New York Times, The only people that benefit from this are those lawyers that continually draw this out. Ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of this is to try and get help to the people that need the help and not pad lawyers' pockets for delaying and delaying and delaying and then file another suit later with different arguments. This actually speeds it up, and we have the track record to do it. There's no reason. The truth is, we want these people as much as anybody to have their money first. Ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion on Committee of the Whole Amendment 1? Motion before the body is the adoption of Committee of the Whole Amendment 1 to Senate Bill 123. Are there any no votes? Majority Leader Holbert, Senator Scott, Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Smallwood, Senator Tate, Senator Lambert, Senator Neville, Senator Lundberg, Senator Martinez-Humenick, Senator Coram, Senator Marble, Senator Cook, Senator Gardner, Senator Hill, Senator Crowder, Senator Baumgardner, Senator Priola, Senator John. Please add the President. With 16 ayes, 19 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Committee of the Whole Amendment 1 is lost. Motion before the body is the adoption of the report to the Committee of the Whole. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 123 is amended. Senate Bill 171 is amended. Senate Bill 11 is amended. Senate Bill 143 is amended. Passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1045, House Bill 1117. Passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 172, Senate Bill 43, Senate Bill 116, Senate Bill 175 laid over until 3/12/18 and retaining their place on the calendar. House Bill 1158 laid over until 3/13/18 and retaining its place on the calendar. Senate Bill 166 laid over until 3/15/18 and retaining its place on the calendar. Consideration of House amendments to Senate bills. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title of the Senate Bill 60.
Senate Bill 60 by Senator Coram and Representative Hamner concerning protective orders in criminal cases.
Senator Coram.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to concur with the House amendment. Very simply, they did a strike on the issuance of such order and substitute a wireless telephone service provider receives the order. So ask for to concur.
Is there any discussion on the motion of concurrence? The motion before the body is to concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 60. House amendments to Senate Bill 60. Are there any no votes on concurrence? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, that motion is adopted. Senator Coram.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the repassage of Senate Bill 60.
Motion before the body is the readoption of Senate Bill 60. Are there any no votes? Senator Sonnenberg, Senator Baumgardner. We're on no votes on repassage of Senate Bill 60. Senator Hill. With Senator Marble. We are no votes. Senate Bill 60. Senator Smallwood, Senator Tate, Senator Lundberg. Majority Leader Holbert. With 27 ayes, 8 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 60 is readopted. Co-sponsors. If you co-sponsored the first time, you don't need to re-co-sponsor. Senator Gardner, you're on as well. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 69.
Senate Bill 69 by Senators Holbert and Zenzinger and Representatives Garnett and Becker J concerning enforcement of statewide degree transfer agreements.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 69.
Is there any further discussion, or please give an explanation? Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, if you look on page 3, the key word of what the Senate accomplished with their amendment can be found in the first word, nothing. They did actually put in a section here, and what this means is Senate Bill 69 will not affect current agreements. It won't go back and renegotiate those that are in place prior to the effective date of this subsection. But I thought we might find a little bit of humor in teasing the lower chamber for applauding them for putting the active word nothing in our bill. Ask for an aye vote.
Senator Zenzinger.
It was always our intention that this happen, so even though it just clarifies it a little bit more, we are okay with this addition.
Is there any further discussion on concurrence? The motion before the body is the concurrence with House amendments to Senate Bill 69. Are there any no votes on concurrence?
Nothing.
With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused. That motion is adopted. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the readoption of Senate Bill 69.
Motion before the body is the readoption of Senate Bill 69. Are there any no votes? With 35 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 0 excused, Senate Bill 69 is readopted. Co-sponsors. You're already on. I think that's colleagues, she's been sitting waiting patiently for us to get to this point. I would like to welcome to the chamber our former colleague, Senator Evie Hudak. Message from the governor.
March 7, 2018, Colorado Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to inform you that I have approved and will file with the Secretary of State the following acts. Senate Bill 148 concerning the continuation of certain benefits of the State Employee Group Benefits Act for dependents of a state employee who dies in a work-related death, approved March 7, 2018 at 3:20 p.m. Senate Bill 50 concerning including staff of freestanding emergency facilities as part of Colorado's safe haven laws, approved March 7, 2018 at 3:17 p.m. Senate Bill 25 concerning modernization of election procedures for the urban drainage and flood control district to conform with the current requirements of state law, approved March 7, 2018 at 3:25 p.m. Senate Bill 124 concerning the removal of the 30-day waiting period related to the sale of imported alcohol beverages, approved March 7, 2018 at 3:26 p.m. Sincerely, John W. Hickenlooper, Governor.
Announcements. Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I have spoken with the Madam Minority Leader and the Majority Leader, and I've asked to be excused on Friday the 9th and Monday the 12th.
Senator Williams, you will be excused. Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. And members, I ask for a moment of personal privilege, Mr.
Granted.
Thank you very much. Members, today is International Women's Month, and as you know, today is International Women's Day in particular, so I just had some things I wanted to share with you. Following the Civil War, women's rights advocates, including Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, fought for the pardon of Hester Vaughn, a dairymaid and a housekeeper. Vaughn's boss had fired her from the job when she learned Vaughn was pregnant with his child. She was later found with her dead infant after giving birth alone and in poverty. Vaughn was charged with infanticide, found guilty and sentenced to death. protesters of Von Sinners argued that the gender and class restrictions put her at risk for sexual coercion. The backlash to Von's sentence eventually persuaded the governor of Pennsylvania to pardon her. It is a time that we stand up for women, both inside and outside of these Capitol building walls. It is time that we show women on the International Day for Women that we will not accept this behavior. Time is up. The members of the Senate Democratic Caucus ask that the Senate resolution we prepared and submitted for the introduction on February the 13th, 2018, entitled Concerning the Expulsion of the Senator from Northwest Colorado for Sexual Harassment of a Legislative Employee, be promptly introduced and brought to the floor for Senate debate. Thank you, Mr. President.
I had Senator Corum next. Is he wanting to?
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
I have two things to say. Madam Minority Leader, I plead with you. I plead with you. I think this is very important that your side of the aisle never allow the young senator from Boulder who went under new math be on the JBC. The second thing that I have to ask is I have talked to the Minority Leader and Majority Leader, and I would like to be excused for tomorrow.
Senator will be excused. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I ask for a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
So members, on International Women's Day, we want to talk a little bit about the significance of groups such as the Women's Christian Temperance Movement and labor activists who work to protect women from sexual harassment and coercion in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. These efforts lessened in the 1920s as female workers were expected to know how to deal with sexual harassment on their own. Guidebooks advised them to learn how to handle unwanted advances in the workplace and to quit if they were unable to ward off lecherous coworkers. It's time that we stand up for women both inside and outside of these Capitol building walls, and it's time that we show women on this International Day for Women that we will not accept this behavior. The members of the Senate Democratic Caucus asked that the Senate resolution be prepared and submitted for introduction on February 13th, 2018, entitled Concerning the Expulsion of the Senator from Northwestern Colorado for Sexual Harassment of a Legislative Employee, be promptly introduced and brought to the floor of the Senate for debate.
Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to highlight Carmita Wood today on this International Day of the Woman. For it was her efforts that the phrase sexual harassment was coined in 1975 by a group of women at Cornell University. Carmita was a former employee, and she filed a claim for unemployment benefits after she resigned from her job due to unwanted touching by her supervisor. Cornell University refused Wood's request for a transfer and denied her the benefits on the grounds that she quit for personal reasons. Woods, together with activists at the university's Human Affairs Office, formed a group called Working Women United. And at speak out events and town halls hosted by groups and secretaries, mailroom clerks, filmmakers, factory workers, waitresses, women from all walks of life shared their stories, revealed that this problem was not just confined to Cornell University at the time, but extended well beyond the university and indeed across every aspect of society. The women spoke of all aspects of sexual harassment, threats and pressure to trade sexual favors for promotions included. This issue was soon made news, and it started the national discussion, and the phrase sexual harassment was finally used in a headline in the New York Times and became part of our lexicon. It is time that we stand up for women, both inside and outside of these Capitol building walls. It is time that we show women on this International Day for Women that we will not accept or tolerate this behavior under this dome. The members of the Senate Democratic Caucus ask that the Senate resolution we prepared and have submitted for introduction on February 13th, entitled Concerning the Expulsion of the Senator from Northwest Colorado for Sexual Harassment of a Legislative Employee, be promptly introduced and brought to the floor of the Senate for debate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Court.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Martha Griffiths was a lawyer and a representative from Detroit who helped pass the women's rights legislation in Congress. In the 1964 Civil Rights Act, Griffiths worked to include sexual discrimination in that act. A fellow representative pushed for sexual discrimination amendment to the act to make it so controversial it wouldn't pass. After introducing the amendment, Congress broke out in laughter. Griffith took to the floor and responded, "I presume that if there had been any necessity to point out that women are second-class sex, the laughter would have proved it." After making her case and bringing her support, the amendment passed. The passage of Title VII in 1964 prohibited sex discrimination in the workplace. And now the members of the Senate Democratic Caucus ask that the Senate resolution that we prepared and submitted for introduction on February 13th, entitled Concerning the Expulsion of the Senator from Northwest Colorado for Sexual Harassment of a Legislative Employee, be promptly introduced and brought to the floor of the Senate for debate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Today is International Women's Day, and I'm reminded about what happened in 1991. George Bush had nominated Clarence Thomas to the United States Supreme Court. During the FBI vetting process, Anita Hill came forward with sexual harassment claims against Thomas. She was asked why she didn't come forward sooner. They called her claims just a political move and tactic. This became one of the most famous cases of sexual harassment, and it kicked off and started the sexual harassment training and policies throughout our nation. A 2015 study found that 1 in 3 women have been sexually harassed, and that's about 71% have not reported such claims. One might call it the Anita Hill effect. It's the double bind effect that women have when they're placed in the workplace, when they're verbally harassed, and they're also intimidated by sexual advancements, and these suggestive language makes them extremely uncomfortable in the workplace. It's distressing, it's demeaning, it's belittling. It affects one's sense of self. They want to keep their job, they need the money for their job, and they're looking for better opportunities, but they feel so intimidated by being harassed in the workplace. It's time that we stand up for women both inside and outside of these Capitol building walls. It's time that we show women on this International Day of Women that we will not accept this behavior. We believe time is up. The members of the Senate Democratic Caucus ask that the Senate resolution we prepared and submitted for introduction on February the 13th, 2018, entitled Concerning the Expulsion of the Senator, Northwestern Colorado for Sexual Harassment of this legislative employee, be promptly introduced and brought forward to the floor of the Senate for debate.
Senator Aguilar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. There's a book called Manifesta, Young Women, Feminism, and the Future, and it's written by a Jennifer Baumgardner. She's a famous women's activist who in the early 2000s wrote this statement: "Consciousness is everything. Even now, acknowledging inequality begs one to do something about it, and that is a daunting, albeit righteous, responsibility." It is time that we stand up for women both inside and outside of these Capitol building walls. It is time that we show women on this International Day for Women that we will not accept this behavior. Time is up. The members of the Senate Democratic Caucus ask that the Senate resolution we prepared and submitted for introduction on February 13, 2018, entitled Concerning the Expulsion of the Senator from Northwestern Colorado for Sexual Harassment of a Legislative Employee, be promptly introduced and brought to the floor of the Senate for debate. Thank you.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, as we have heard already, is March 8th. It's International Women's Day, a day celebrating the accomplishments of women around the world, recognizing that we've come a long way. We still have plenty of work to do and left to do in the name of equality. It's kind of exciting when you think about the fact that it's international, that women all over the world today are standing up and talking about International Women's Day. The first International Women's Day was celebrated in 1909 in New York City when women stood up in protest of highly dangerous working conditions. From the suffragettes of the early 1900s fighting for our right to vote to the Roe versus Wade decision of the 70s, giving women body and autonomy, to Sally Ride being the first woman to enter space in the 80s, we've come a long way, and we won't let go and let up. As I reflect on these accomplishments, I cannot help but wonder how many women have been denied similar opportunities to thrive simply because of a pervasive culture of sexual harassment that dominates American workplaces, this one very much included. How many women have quit rather than continued to endure harassment at work? How many women have been forced out of retaliation for coming forward? How many women have given up and changed career rather than stay in a workplace where their harasser's behavior is known but never results in consequences? Today, we are experiencing a new awakening, a long-awaited reckoning, and an unprecedented moment in history. Women and bravery coming forward and telling their incredibly difficult stories in record numbers. The Me Too movement is a movement of solidarity, of catharsis, of publicity, calling for justice. It is a proclamation that time is up and that we must hold those accountable for the pain they have caused. And as public officials elected by the people, we are called to serve our communities with integrity. We absolutely cannot have leaders in this body who violate this trust by violating women. This is why we have brought forth a resolution of the expulsion to hold the senator from northwestern Colorado accountable for his actions that have been confirmed by third-party investigation. It's time that we stand up for women, both inside and outside of these Capitol building walls. It's time that we show women on this International Day for Women that we will not accept this behavior. Time is up. For this reason, the members of the Senate Democratic Caucus ask that the Senate resolution we prepared and submitted for introduction on February 13th, 2018, entitled Concerning the Expulsion of the Senator from Northwestern Colorado for Sexual Harassment of a Legislative Employee, be promptly introduced and brought to the floor of the Senate for debate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Announcements. Senator Smallwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, colleagues. On International Women's Day, I want to take my opportunity to ensure credit is given for women's contributions. I would want to thank my wife, who's not here today, for everything that she's endured, for my mom, my two sisters, and then wanted to give credit to all of the women here for what you've done for us, colleagues here in the chamber, staffers, everyone who helps. Sadly, as you probably know, International Men's Day isn't until November. It's actually, I think, the second week of November, so we won't be in session. So although I am extending my sincere congratulations and thanks to all of you, for you to return the favor, sadly, you'll have to email or call or text me in November because we won't be here together as a body. But kudos to all of you. Congratulations for being where you are in this world. I'd also like to remind everybody that the Senate Health and Human Services Committee has a joint meeting with Connect for Health today at 1:30 in room 271, and we will have our normal meeting at 2 o'clock in room 354. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today I am very pleased to be able to welcome the business and professional women of Colorado who are here with us today on the floor. They observed our proceedings this morning, and I wanted to give a little background on the business and professional women of Colorado. Their mission is to achieve equity for all women in the workplace through advocacy, education, and information. It's a real pleasure to be able to have you here today. Thank you for what all you do in your communities, and welcome.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, colleagues. I'd like to invite you to join me and others March 9th from 7:30 to 9 a.m. for the Denver Regional Council of Governments Legislative Coffee. It's known as Dr. COG. Meet and celebrate with Colorado practitioners working hard every day to address regional challenges, ranging from Clear Creek County to Deer Trail and everything in between. Dr. COG works so hard to maximize opportunities for transportation, housing, aging, disability resources to better serve the people of Colorado with pressing needs. Come and join some coffee. Come have some coffee with us, snacks, meet with the staff and board members, and learn more about Dr. COG. Once again, that is tomorrow, March 9th, 7:30 to 9, outside of the old Supreme Court chambers. Thank you.
Senator Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. A week from today is the Colorado Technology Association C-level event, and for those of you that are in the Technology Caucus and attend that, I've been asked to alert you to your emails through which you'll register for that event. I think they're trying to get the registration taken care of sooner rather than later. So again, the Colorado Technology Association C-level event, a week from today in the evening. Please register now. Thank you.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Transportation will still be meeting today at 12:20. Thank you.
Senator Marble. And Senator Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. President, and a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
International Women's Day is aimed at celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women, and here in Colorado, we have so much to celebrate. In the political realm, Colorado has women in positions of power in all three branches of government. Executive, we have the Lieutenant Governor, who is a woman, and 6 members of the governor's cabinet are also women. The Supreme Court, 3 of the 7 Supreme Court justices are women, including the Chief Justice, Nancy Rice. In the legislative, there are 38 female legislators. 12 women serve on the leadership team of their respective caucuses, including 14 chairs of committees of reference year-round and interim committees, and 17 vice chairs of these committees. The chiefs of staff in 3 of the 4 caucuses are also women. Pay equity has been a hot topic in Colorado for a number of years. There are a number of laws on the books to promote pay equity. The Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act prohibits discrimination based on race, sex, national origin, and other factors for all size employers. This is more comprehensive than the federal Pay Equity Act. The parental involvement in Education Act requires large employers to provide parents with limited time off to participate in their children's school activities. All of these things are just a few that we have to mention of how much women have to celebrate on this great International Women's Day. But I also want to thank all of those women who gave birth to every single one of us, men and women alike, so that we can share the camaraderie here underneath the Gold Dome on the Senate and House floor, as well as in the lobby. We appreciate all of those mothers and all of the people who we work with today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Martinez-Humanic.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you. Colleagues, there have been, as we have heard today, it is International Women's Day. And I just want to remind members in the chamber that back in 1893, Colorado led the nation by passing the Women's Suffrage Act referendum, allowing women to vote. So Colorado was the first state in the nation to do that. So that is one of the positives that has happened here in Colorado. And thank you to all the people of Colorado who supported that vote. There are other achievements that we can be proud of, which include, according to the status of womendata.org, there are more women in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields in Colorado than there are nationwide. In 2015, approximately 37.5 women in Colorado have a bachelor's degree or a higher degree, an increase of about 7 percentage points since 2000. Colorado sent 12 women to represent the United States in the Winter Olympics, including gold medal winners Nicole Hensley, Michaela Schifrin, who also won a silver, and a silver medal winner, Lauren Gibbs. Bronze medal winners, Lindsey Vaughn, Ariel Gold, and Murray, I'm going to unfortunately say her name probably incorrectly, but Nagasu. So we had women that represented the United States from our state in Colorado, a very positive reflection of women on International Day, where they went to compete without politics, just as sports, men and women at the Olympics in Korea. The Wage Transparency Act also permits non-management employees to share wage information with each other. That was an important act that we passed here. A 2010 study found that in 2008, single, childless women between the ages of 22 and 30 were earning more than their male counterparts in most U.S. cities, with incomes that were 8% greater than average. While we still have a long way to go, I have always supported the equal pay resolution that we have run here, because if you are qualified and you have the same skills, yes, you as a woman should be paid equally. So I think we have a lot to celebrate that is positive today with regards to Women's International Day, and I had the opportunity to go and speak with Representative Michael St-Jeannet to the International Jewish Women's Group this morning and talk to them about different things that are positive that our bodies are making here as policy for Colorado and for the advancement of women. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Marble.
Thank you again, Mr. President. I would just like to draw attention to the flyer on your desk. Keep calm, we're halfway there. This is a celebration to toast to surviving the first 60 days, and hopefully the next 60 will go just as well. It is today from 5 to 7. It's put on by the Colorado Cable Telecommunications Association at 225 East 16th Avenue, Suite 220. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senators Lambert, Moreno, Lundberg.
We have a little change to the calendar today because we didn't finish all of our business yesterday in the JBC. We kind of ran out of time. So we're carrying over actions on early childhood. This is all DHS, early childhood, their ID division, IT division, CBMS, county admin, adult sufficiency, and Department of Youth Services. In addition, we held over action on 5 drafts of bills that the JBC will be looking at this afternoon, and a list of 9 potential bills that we may submit to drafting. In addition, you can see we have a little change. We're not meeting at 1:30. We're meeting immediately upon adjournment because of the size of the schedule. This afternoon, we're going to be considering figure-setting recommendations for the Department of Natural Resources, Divisions of Reclamation, Mining Safety, Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, State Board of Land Commissioners, severance tax policy only, all the capital construction budget, and all of the health divisions and environmental divisions of Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. However, thank you to the last speaker for recognizing that you're halfway through the legislative session. My colleagues and I just hit day 120, so after this afternoon, we're probably going to go home and call it sine die, and you guys can work out the budget. Thank you very much.
Senator Neville.
That sounds like an interesting opportunity if we actually really got it. So is that a dare to my good colleague from El Paso County? However, colleagues, very quickly, Senate Finance. As long as it takes from you to walk here up to 357, it will be gavelled in and ready to go.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate adjourn until 9 a.m. Friday, March 9th, 2018.
Motion is to adjourn till 9 a.m. Friday, March 9th. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. We will be adjourned.